Let's start with our motivation. Again, with a sense of joy at having the opportunity to listen to the teachings. Especially that part of us that has faith and confidence in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. That has a mind that wants to learn and follow the teachings. Because lots of people have the other conditions, but then they don't have that one. Or some people have that one of really having faith in what is worthy of faith, but they're living out in some obscure area where there's no chance to meet the Dharma. So there's all sorts of hindrances that can come up. So right now, none of them are rearing their heads. So it's something to be very grateful for. And so to really use this opportunity while we have it, because one day it's going to end and we're going to have to shift gears and deal with whatever hindrances come, and which will entail practicing in a different kind of way. So while we have this opportunity, let's recall all sentient beings, their kindness to us, how they're trapped in cyclic existence, and then generate the Bodhicitta and have that as our motivation for learning tonight. So it's true, sometimes some big hindrance is going to come, isn't it? For sure. I mean, because there's aging, sickness, and death. And we're in the aging part. So far, the sickness part hasn't been too bad. Yeah, it gets bad and then it gets better. But, we'll keep getting sick. Our mind will keep getting older and less agile. And, as the body and mind, start degenerating, then we're going to have to adapt our practice and be able to do it differently and handle different circumstances and be able to look at all the people who don't have the hindrances we do, and instead of being jealous and instead of being angry, just say, I knew that I was going to have to shift my practice sometime, and now it's time to practice and deal with these hindrances and transform them into the path. And even if it means I don't get to do some other Dharma activities that I usually like to do, that's okay. I've had that opportunity in the past. I used it the best that I could. So now it's just time to shift gear. Yeah, and to be able to do it gracefully instead of, stomping our feet and, having a temper tantrum because we can't do what we used to be able to do. Sounds easy to talk about. Well, it doesn't sound easy to talk about. It sounds hard to talk about it, but it's going to be even harder to do. Yeah? So that's why when we have the opportunity to not take it for granted and not space out and just think, I'm going to have day after day after day of this kind of opportunity. Okay, so last time we were talking about the three causes for bodhisattva, which are bodhicitta, compassion, and non-dual wisdom. So what kind of bodhicitta?
Stable as a mountain.
Bodhicitta, stable as a mountain, is not the cause of a bodhisattva.
Contrived, uncontrived, spontaneous.
Sorry, what is your question?
What kind of bodhicitta is the cause of a bodhisattva? Fabricated bodhicitta. Okay. Uncontrived bodhicitta can't be the cause, because the moment you attain uncontrived bodhicitta, you're already a bodhisattva, and cause and effect can't exist at the same time. Okay. Why did they list compassion separately, even though compassion is actually a cause of bodhicitta?
It's so important.
Yeah, because it's so important. And then the non-dual wisdom, what's the dual that it's free from? The two extremes, nihilism and absolutism. Okay. Is that wisdom free of appearance of subject and object, that kind of dualism? No. Okay. Okay. And
I have a question though.
Mhm.
The verse says, Bodhicitta firm as the king of mountains. That's what the text says is of those three. Is that not the kind of bodhicitta that we're asking about? Or?
that's the bodhicitta that we have when we become a bodhisattva.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's the sugar cane bark bodhicitta.
So I'm confused. So the verse is talking about one kind, but what we were talking about last week was the predecessor to that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so the verse, where's the verse? Yeah, its roots are bodhicitta that are firm as the king of mountains, compassion that is as vast as space, and wisdom that relies not on duality. Yeah, but it's not really the bodhicitta that's as firm as the king of mountains, because that's the bodhicitta when you're already a bodhisattva. Okay? Yeah, so I don't know why they put that. Have to ask Nagarjuna. Yeah?
You said Askas was teaching the two ways to develop bodhicitta and equalizing self and others, as many by Shantideva, but I found also other sources. Why did you didn't mention them? Like even our teacher seemed to teach that, and
Say that again about equalizing exchange self and others. Why did I do what?
We say that it's only taught, or you can find it in Shantideva's.
No, I said the source was. The source was Shantideva in engaging in a bodhisattva's deeds, and the source was Nagarjuna at a line at the end here.
Right, yeah.
That doesn't mean that the source doesn't mean the whole teaching is found there. It's just the root where you can find a scriptural source, and then. But of course, in Shantideva, it is found, the whole thing there. But then later people, based on that source, elaborated it and made the whole teaching.
Okay. I found also the source by the Buddha seems to be the Arya of Tri Sutra.
Arya of Tree Sutra?
Array of Tri Sutra.
Array of trees. Though there's the array of stalks. That's the Gandhavyuha, the one with the King of Prayers. I don't know, see if you can find that sutra somewhere. Yeah? Okay. No, but you really start to see that a lot of the things that we study are things that there's a source in a sutra, but then an Indian Pandit expanded it, or a Tibetan expanded it, and we learned the expanded version, but all the points we learn are not necessarily found in that sutra. Okay, like the 7-point instruction of cause and effect. I don't think, I'm not sure, but I don't think you could find that in a sutra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's rooted in Atisha, who probably learned it from Sirlingpa. But, you know, where did Sirlingpa get it? Or did he just look at the sutras and read different sutras and pull different information out of it and then make those 7? Like the Bodhisattva vows are taken from many different sutras. We don't find that the Buddha said, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in one sutra. So a lot of things are like that.
I think I just listened to something back into Wanda where he said that 7-point cause effect also goes back to a sangha.
Yeah, to a sangha and Kamala Sila. Yeah. But then, you know, can you find it specifically in a sutra? You know, and what I find quite interesting, to go off the topic a little bit, you know, in the thing about all sentient beings have been your mother, as many times as there's, you know, all the, you know, you can count all the juniper berries in the world, and it's even more than that. Well, they have that analogy in the Pali Sutra. So it was probably in some Sravasti Sanskrit sutra too, yeah. But it was, the analogy was that was how many times you had been born in samsara. Yeah. So whether it was taken there and then extrapolated on, or maybe in the Sravasti Sutra, it was a little bit different. It was that, you know. It's hard to say when you trace these things back exactly what they were. Yeah, and you look sometimes like, you know, everybody says what Nagarjuna said was like so original and so fantastic. Actually, a lot of it is in the Pali text. Yeah, the whole thing about things not being produced by self, others, both, and causelessly. There's a refutation of suffering being produced in any of those 4 ways in the Pali Sutras. Yeah? So it's quite interesting when you look back. I mean, I'd really, if I had some free time and some language skills, I mean, I'd like to trace back when was the words bhavava, when was that first used and in what context? Because it seems like it was first used in the Abhidharma. But it didn't mean inherent existence in the Abhidharma. Yeah? It meant like the nature of something. And then how did that word start to change meanings and gain a bunch of different meanings to a bunch of different people? Yeah? I mean, I think that could be fascinating to really, because you're tracing back the evolution and the development of ideas. Yeah, which the Tibetans say the ideas are not getting developed and they are not, you know, interpreting anything. They are just explaining what was already there in the sutra. And the fact that they explain different things was because that's a skillful that's skillful means. Like a Sangha, you know, is known as, he wrote all these Chittamadra texts mostly, except for his commentary on Gyulama. But in the Tibetan eyes, he's actually a Madhyamaka. But he taught Chittamadra because that was skillful for his brother Vasubandhu. Yeah. But Vasubandhu wrote the Abhidharma Kosha, which was a Vaibhasika text, and then he wrote the commentary on that, which was Satantrika. But he was actually a Chittamadra, taught by his brother, who was actually a Madhyamaka. So, you know, it's quite interesting to see how things get explained. And I've been reading one book, you know, that says, you know, because we have this whole thing of, Nagarjuna and Aryadeva and Chandrakirti and so on, explaining what came to be the Prasangika view. It wasn't called Prasangika way back then. But there was actually, in I think 11th century, or maybe 12th, but I think 11th, there was somebody, another one named Nagarjuna, who taught Tantra. And he had students named Aryadeva and Chandrakirti. Yeah? And it seems like, according to this one historian, that there was a trend in ancient India at that time that people would take the names of the famous people before, and then they were kind of seen as, maybe the future life of that great pandit or something, but they somehow had some connection to whoever, that Chandrakirti in the 11th one, 7th century, who taught Tantra, had a connection with the Chandrakirti in the 7th century, who taught Madhyamaka. Yeah? So, and that's how you get Nagarjuna, living for 600 years, except he must have had to live for more if that was 11th century and he started out in 2nd, So, history is not the Tibetans' forte, but it's quite interesting to see how this happens. And that's why I was I'm going off on a tangent now, but I was really hoping that Rita Gross could come and teach Buddhist history here. Yeah, and we had corresponded about this before she died, and she was quite enthusiastic about coming. And, she's done some writing about how, there's the historical viewpoint, and then there's the history that's legend, and how they both have their time and place, but it's very good not to mix them up. In Tibetan society, they're completely, there isn't a distinguishing thing. And so she was quite shocked when she came to America, and she was teaching at some Akhanda Rinpoche centers and presenting, another view of Buddhist history, and people were freaking out, It would kind of be like somebody presenting Jewish history and say, the Red Sea didn't split. Yeah, maybe they were slaves, but they took another route and got out. But the Red Sea didn't split, and the bush didn't burn. And people who take things literally, totally freak out. Yeah, you see in Christianity too, when some of the basic legendary things are challenged. On the other hand, you can say they're legendary, but people who have spiritual powers, strange things happen. There's paranormal things. We can't just say, well, I didn't see it and that doesn't fit my scientific paradigm, therefore it didn't happen. So, maybe the Red Sea split, I don't know. Yeah, and maybe Nagarjuna lived 600 years, I don't know. But there's also another view that, maybe the Red Sea didn't split, and Jesus went to India, and Nagarjuna lived a regular lifespan, and that there were, some people say there were 3 Nagarjunas, and maybe 2 or 3 Chandrakirtis, 2 or 3 Vasubandhus. I mean, the Tibetans would just go, it can't be, you can't do that, yeah. But I don't know, it doesn't bother me. I can look at these things from many different viewpoints, and some people say this, and some people look at it this, and I can see the advantages to all the different perspectives, and I don't feel the necessity to come out and say, there was a burning bush, or there wasn't a burning bush, or, Jesus rose, or he didn't rise, or Nagarjuna went to the land of the Nagas and came back without getting wet, brought out these scriptures back and they weren't soggy, I mean, I don't feel the need to kind of make it all fit into a coherent thing. And I can see, yes, you know, like when the Buddha was born, that he took 7 steps and said, this is my last life. You know, and he came out of his mother's side. My goodness, it's a very strange kind of cesarean. Yeah, but, you know, so maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. Doesn't really matter to me. I can accept it that way. I can accept it another way. Yeah, my faith doesn't depend on these kinds of things. Yeah. So anyway, that was a long thing. Where were we? Yeah. Okay. So we were. So then, you know, he did the verse 176, asking the king to listen. You know, where he explained the Buddha bodies, and then he explained that the principal cause for the 4 Buddha bodies are the collection of merit and collection of wisdom, which you start collecting when you become a bodhisattva. Yeah, ordinary us beings who haven't entered a path, and also the people in the fundamental vehicle, don't don't have those 2 collections. Although we do create merit and wisdom, but we don't have the collections of merit and wisdom. Okay, and then with 177, he's going into a whole series of verses where he's talking about how to create the causes for the Buddha's body. So these are like not the major causes, because the major causes are the 2 collections, but like the more specialized causes that have a connection with that specific quality of the Buddha's body. So for me, it's kind of interesting, you know, because here he's talking about the method side of the path. He really did a lot about the wisdom side of the path in chapter 1, yeah, and now he's coming to the method side. And I ask, why did he choose to talk about the causes for a Buddha's body? Why did he choose that one? Yeah, because personally, I would like to hear the causes of the Buddha's speech, because they say that the Buddha's speech is of the body, speech, and mind, is the one that's most important to sentient beings, because that's how the Buddha helps us, is by the Buddha's speech. Yeah, so why is he describing the causes of the Buddha's body? Yeah, maybe we can ask Jeffrey. I wonder if he thought of that. He has many of the same questions I have. But, you know, because I remember the first time I heard this, because there's also an explanation in Mahayana Sutra Alamkara. No, what am I going to clear? Abhidharma. Avisamaya Alankara, sorry.
An explanation.
Yeah, he was teaching that. So there's 2 different, but like, you know, to me, this doesn't inspire me as much as like if I heard the causes of the Buddha's speech. Yeah, but then I have to realize that not everybody's like me. And some people, you know, hearing the causes of the Buddha's body, like, wow, that's going to really energize them, because I want to have a body that looks like that. Yeah.
I was also thinking about that, and because before that he was so much focusing on teaching the king about the disadvantages of the attachment to his body. So it was all about his body. So, and he wasn't maybe interested to learn how to teach, right?
This is a good idea, that he had just started got done refuting all the disadvantages, how filthy the human body is, and now he's presenting an alternative kind of body. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah.
I thought too maybe it's because he's talking to a king. It's a certain kind of mind.
Yes.
When you compare how Aryadeva starts, right, it's like death and the fountains of the body. Like the king would have run away.
Yes.
It kind of eases him in.
Yeah, yeah. So the king probably has jewels and is, he might be quite vain. And so, yeah, have to refute one before he presents this other idea. Yes, you have something to say?
Not only did he just cover the foulness of the body, probably because he sees the king has a lot of attachment to his body,
Yeah.
but maybe he thinks this will interest the king because the king does have so much attachment
Yeah,
to his body.
yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. So he's clearly attached to his body, so then the king's going to go, I want this kind of body. Okay. And also because in ancient India, these 32 signs, people in general knew about them. It isn't something in our culture that these qualities that are necessarily, we don't revere them, these qualities, like if they said, I don't know, like you'd have muscles like Rambo or something like that, then maybe... or you'd have a figure like Lady Gaga. Maybe some people would be interested, But in the time, ancient India, these were the traits that were seen as very beautiful, as and desirable. Yeah, so appealing to people's vanity, but. To get these, you have to drop a lot of other stuff. Okay, so due to honoring Chaitas and those who are worthy, Aryas and also elders, your glorious hands and feet will be wheel marked, showing that you shall turn the wheel. Okay, so this is the first of the 32. So Chaita usually means stupa. In Tibetan the word is chorten, and chorten means a base of offering. Yeah, so it's the base that you make an offering to. So it usually refers to stupas, the monuments, and they usually put like relics of a Buddha, relics of a great master inside. And they usually symbolize the Buddha or the Buddha's mind. And so, when we set up an altar, we have a stupa on it symbolizing the Buddha's mind. But here, Chaita refers to the Buddha himself or to something that is blessed or empowered by the Buddha. It refers to the Arya Sangha, to our preceptors, to our Dharma teachers. So it goes beyond just referring, symbolizing the Buddha's mind or referring to the Buddha. Okay, and the reason, it serves as a symbol of the Buddha, and so these things are honored and respected as if they were the Buddha, because the Buddha has all the good qualities and has abandoned all hindrances. Yeah. So, in our culture, there's some religions that have holy statues and things. And then there's other religions that, no, you can't have any image of God or any image of the divine. Yeah. So it's quite interesting, when I was in Israel and I was teaching a retreat at a kibbutz, then they asked me to come talk to the kibbutzniks one evening. And there was one woman there who was like, she was so upset, like, you have a statue of Buddha and you bow to the statue, and that is idol worship. And in the 10 Commandments, no idol worship. So Jews, Muslims, I don't know who else, but no Christians bow. They have Jesus hanging on the cross, the Catholics do. But, you're not allowed to have images of the divine. So she was like very upset. Oh, there's a statue of a human being and he has genitals, and why are you bowing to that? Shouldn't the divine be more than that? She's really quite upset. So I tried to explain it to her as, this was a symbol of the Buddha's qualities. I didn't get into the whole thing that on the third part of the path of accumulation that you can receive teachings direct from stupas and, and that we invoke the Buddha's holy mind inside the stupas. I didn't tell her that, But I just said we see it as a representative. Like when you travel, you take a picture of your family to remind you because you care about them. So here we take an image of the Buddha to remind us of the Buddha's qualities. We're not worshiping the piece of metal. It's not a golden calf. And then I told the story, which I don't know how far it got in, but if you go to Jerusalem, they have the Wailing Wall there. And people go. I went when I was there a few times. And you go, and people are standing in front and praying, to that wall and stuffing prayers inside of it. I mean, they're praying to God, but there's something about God that's inside that wall, And they all write their prayers on pieces of paper and stuff it in the cracks and everything. And I said, for people from another religion, when they see Jews at the Wailing Wall, it looks to them like they're worshiping a wall. Now for you wouldn't say you're worshiping the stones. Well, in the same way as Buddhists, we don't say we're worshiping the material of the statue. Yeah, but it's, it really shows how easy people can misunderstand things from other religions. Yeah, when I was in Dharamsala, when a whole group of a Jewish delegation came to meet with His Holiness in 1990, they had, the Tibetans and the Jews had Friday night dinner together. It was Shabbat. And so right before sunset, everybody was gathered there, but the Jews faced the sun, they faced Jerusalem, sorry. They faced Jerusalem, which from India is in the west, not in the east. And so they were bowing and praying and swaying and dancing and everything that they do to welcome the Sabbath in, thinking of the holy city of Jerusalem. And the Tibetans thought that they were worshiping the sun. And they said to us afterwards, why are these people worshiping the sun? That's what pagans do. And no, they're not worshiping the sun. But it's like this kind of thing, how so many misunderstandings arise. Okay, so I went off on another thing, but yeah, okay. So, he also says that those who are worthy include our parents and also people who are ill. Yeah, and elders refer to our seniors, so to respect them and serve them and do things for them, which is totally un-American. We don't do that at all. We complain about our seniors, we pick faults at them, and we refuse to acknowledge that they have anything decent to say. When you're a teenager, yeah, your seniors are like out the window, except Bernie Sanders. Yeah? He has some good ideas. But the way we don't have much respect for our elders. So, it's elders in age, but it's also elders in ordination, or elders in terms of how long people have had the Bodhisattva precepts. Okay, so the other day we were talking that if somebody's going off the deep end and doing something really, non-virtuous, then seniority doesn't matter. You need to talk about whatever it is with the person or make it known to the community. Yeah, but we shouldn't go to the other end of that and say, well, then seniority means nothing, and, just forget it and let's pick faults at people. Because that doesn't help our own mind very much if we pick faults, which I am very good at doing. I remember, when I was first ordained, I looked up the line at my seniors, and that one's angry, and that one this, and that one this, and that one that, and I had many complaints, and I looked down the line, and also many complaints. And then it was quite nice, like some years later, when I noticed there was a change, and when I could look up the line, and I thought, oh, this person has this talent, and this has that talent. Not that they had gained new talents or qualities. I mean, I'm sure they did because of their practice, but rather my mind had changed, and I wasn't so filled with jealousy and anger. Yeah, mostly jealousy, Okay. So the wheel, that are on the palms of the hand, the soles of the feet, it's a Dharma wheel. So it represents capacity and power, because you know how when we make the mandala offerings, we have the different possessions of the Chakravartin king, the universal emperor, and one is the wheel. So it symbolizes, for him, worldly power. For the Buddha, it symbolizes, spiritual power. Okay? So it's a result of having made offerings to the Buddha and having honored those worthy of respect for many eons. So here it just says making offerings to the Buddha. Now you can sit and think, well, what does making offerings to the Buddha mean? Yeah, because there's all sorts of different ways people make offerings to the Buddha. And you see it, Some people, it's like you put flowers, you put incense, put water bowls. And in their minds, what you're offering is just that. Just whatever the physical object is that you're putting on the altar, that is the offering. Okay? Now what we're taught is that what you put on the altar is just the base, and that in your mind you multiply it and expand it, and make samantabhadra offerings out of it and fill the whole space, and you have the extensive offering practice, because of that, and do that. And then you also learn that you should make offerings with bodhicitta. And then you should see yourself as the one who's offering, the action of offering, the substance that's being offered, the one who's being offered to, all these things as empty and dependent arising. So there's a whole lot of different ways to make offerings, isn't there? And they all look the same on the altar, but the amount of merit you create by them is hugely different dependent on what's going on in your mind while you're offering. If you're imagining the whole space full of beautiful things, and if you have a bodhicitta attitude, and if you're seeing all these things as empty and dependent. Yeah? Okay. So there's that. There's also offering service. Here it's talking about physical offerings. We'll get more into offering service. And also offering our practice. Okay, then 179. So it's something to think about, like what, when he says, offering to the, to the Chaitanya, what does that mean? Which kind of offering is he talking about? Or maybe he's talking about all three. There's probably some others too. Yeah, because you're not just seeing it as, in the early Chaitas were just a pile of stones or a pile of dirt. You're not seeing it as that. You have to see it as, so do you see it as one Buddha? Do you see it as a whole Pure Land filled with Buddhas and Bodhisattvas? Yeah, that makes a whole difference, doesn't it? Yeah, so many different ways to make an offering. Make offerings according to, you know, how much we've learned and how much we try and practice what we've learned. Okay, then next verse, 178. So, king, always be steadfast in your commitments concerning the Dharma. That way you shall become a bodhisattva who has level and even feet. Okay, so the soles of our feet are arched. The Buddha's feet are completely flat. You know, like when you see when they take the rubbings of the Buddha's feet at Bodh Gaya, I mean, he has enormous feet, bigger than Michael Phelps. And Michael, he has big feet, yeah, but he's not a Buddha. Well, maybe, I don't know. But, you know, and the whole footprint is there. Whereas ours, if you take a footprint, the arch you have. And for us, if our arch is flat, it hurts, doesn't it? Yeah, so we always have to have things to keep our arch up. Okay, so the Buddha's feet are level, yeah, but they're flat, like the underside of a tortoise. It's an interesting, you know, analogy. I wonder why he chose that. There's so many flat things. Why did he choose the underside of a tortoise? Yeah, this is probably Gyaltsabje. Yeah. Oh, no, well, yeah, I don't know. Okay, so to become a Buddha with this sign, you have to keep whatever precepts and commitments you've taken, to keep them well and not let them deteriorate, and also to remember what you've learned and to hold that in mind. Okay, and so this sign also comes as a result of practicing wisdom and method evenly and inseparably while on the Bodhisattva path. So he's saying two causes for this one. Yeah, so that one of, you know, practicing wisdom and method evenly and inseparably, that one you can see, you know, how it matches with this physical quality. You know, keeping your precepts, how does that pertain to something that's flat? Maybe something that's stable. Yeah, not wobbly. Okay. Then 179, through generosity and gentle speech, and by acting beneficently and consistently, you will have hands and feet with digits joined by glorious webs. Okay, so we have gaps between our fingers. They say that a Buddha's fingers, they're kind of web-like a duck, you know. But it's not actual flesh. I mean, you could still put a ring on your finger, but it's, you know, it's more like a duck, something in there. So that must have been some sign of beauty or something, you know, quite special in then, you know. So the flesh is the nature of light, they say. Yeah, I remember meeting one Rinpoche who had, like, you know, the part of your fingers here, his were quite high up. Yeah. Okay, so this results from practicing the 4 ways of gathering disciples, you know, to ripen their mind strength. So what were those 4 ways? Giving material things. Speaking kindly and about the Dharma. Encouraging them to practice.
And being an example.
Yeah, practicing what you preach and being a good example. Okay, yeah, so that, so through generosity. So what's the connection? You know, because with a lot of these, you know, you have a physical, it's like the physical thing is representing the action or the virtue that you've created. So through generosity and gentle speech, and by acting beneficently, you will have hands and feet with the webs. Do you see any connection between those actions and the...
These are four.
Oh yeah, 4 spaces. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Something about, generosity and acting sometimes is this kind of motion. So to be able to give to others, having these beautiful hands that just sort of represent the heart that's giving.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
Beautiful hands.
Beautiful hands with webs that can hold a lot
A lot.
to give. Yeah. And gentle speech.
Maybe just the idea of connection and bringing together,
Mm.
gathering.
Yeah. Yeah, connecting. That's true. Yeah, because it's connecting your fingers. Okay, 180. Through abundantly giving the best food and drink, your glorious hands and feet will be soft, and you will have a large body with 7 broadly curved parts. Okay, so offering lots of food and drink to people who are hungry and thirsty results in 2 signs. So the first sign is that our feet and hands will be very soft, like even softer than a baby's skin. Yeah. And that there's 7 broadly curved parts. So I think I'm going to need some help with this. 2 hands, 2 feet, 2 shoulders, and the nape of our neck. So how are they broadly curved? I mean, our shoulders, okay, are curved.
The hands here is curved, so it would be more flat, maybe.
Here, here.
It would just be, it wouldn't have the curve here. There's a curve.
Curve going. Mine's pretty flat. Okay. Yeah, maybe it doesn't, because it says specifically that they're not concave. And so here, yeah, maybe here that this is going concave. So maybe it's referring more to where the hand joins the ankle. Yeah. And then our feet, are they curved? Maybe the soles of our feet.
And the calves.
The heel. The heel is curved.
On the tops.
Yeah, no, the calves is different. That's our leg.
But the arch, maybe it definitely has a.
Yeah, but remember, Buddha has flat.
Oh,
Yeah. You want flat feet.
Maybe it's the top that arches, that curves.
Maybe the top of the foot is curved. Okay. Yeah. So the thing with the hands, again, offering food and drink. Yeah. So, but it makes your hands soft. Well, like your mind is soft in making offerings. 181, through renouncing violence and freeing those to be killed, your body will be beautiful, straight, and tall. You will have a long life. Oops, the computer moved. You will have a long life, your digits will be long, and your heels broad. Okay, so if we refrain from harming others, that should be refrain instead of restrain. With harming others from malice, and if we save the lives of humans, animals, insects, who are about to be killed, then it brings the sign that we'll have a tall and beautiful body. Yeah, so that makes sense, doesn't it? You protect life, you're very upright as a person, so you're tall, beautiful, you have an attractive, powerful kind of appearance that people will be attracted to because you've done this beautiful action of saving life. Okay? And then also, by abandoning crooked or deceptive dealings with others, our body will be straight. So again, that makes sense, not being crooked, having a straight body. And then the 7th one is through all of that, you'll have our fingers and toes will be long. and you'll have broad heels. Now it's interesting because these are the ones that were listed in the commentary, but in the verse it says you will have a long life. But that's the result similar to the cause, isn't it, in terms of the experience? Okay. So long fingers and toes, broad heels.
Stable.
Yeah, again, stable, isn't it? If things are long and big and not so wobbly. 182, through enhancing the practices that you have undertaken, you will be glorious. You will have a good complexion. Your ankles will not be prominent, and you will be marked with body hairs that curl upwards. Okay, so keeping our precepts, spreading the Dharma, yeah, so enhancing the practices that we've undertaken. So that causes, the ninth one is good color, good complexion, you know, and ankles that don't jut out. So I guess...
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
Stick out.
Stick out.
So, yeah, so ankles that don't jut out, and then our body hairs all go up. So, you know, the hair on your arm, instead of going down, would go up. I guess the head on your hair would go up. There's another one later about your hair curling, you know, but the hair on your legs also would go up. So something unusual. Yeah. So enhancing your practices is unusual. You know, most sentient beings don't do that. 183, by both learning and imparting with respect the sciences, crafts, and other fields of knowledge, you will have the calves of an antelope and have a sharp mind and great wisdom. Okay, so as a result of having both received instructions and then having given instructions about the arts and sciences and, you know, grammar and poetry and all these different fields of knowledge, when we become a Buddha, then our calves will be beautiful. There's some special type of antelope that I guess has quite beautiful calves. And mentally we'll be intelligent and wise. I mean, mentally the result makes complete sense, doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Then 184, through the avowed practice of quickly giving your wealth at the request of others, your arms will be broad and facile, and you will be a leader of the world. Okay, so when we're committed to helping others and we respond immediately when somebody asks for some kind of aid or help, okay, so then you'll have very long arms like the Buddhas. So they say that the Buddha's arms are like an elephant's trunk. They're very long. They go down to his knees. You know, when a Buddha stands, do they go down on the Burmese statues do we have? Yeah? Yeah, they have long arms, don't they? Yeah? So the Buddha's arms go down to his knees. Yeah? Kansa Rinpoche says, not like our knees that only go below, not like our arms that only go below our knees when we slouch. Okay? Yeah. And you'll be a leader of the world. That makes sense, doesn't it? You know, through being generous, quickly responding to others. Yeah? Then, of course, people will allow you as a leader. Or, you know, want you as a leader. That's why I don't get it when they, you know, they want to elect people who just cut. Yeah? Okay. Nagarjuna would have something to say about that. The Pope said something about Trump too.
He did?
Yes.
What did he say?
Well, yesterday he was at the Rio Grande, the border, you know, where he did there's a memorial there for the people who have died trying to cross into the States. And so he did some prayers there, and then he offered Mass right at the border of the Rio Grande, and it was broadcast simultaneous in a stadium in El Paso, Texas. And then that was his last day in Mexico, I guess, and when he was flying back, some news person asked him what he thought about Trump. And he said anybody who wants to, he didn't mention Trump's name, but he said maybe the guy asked him what he thought about the Republican candidates, I can't remember. But anyway, he said, anybody who wants to build a wall instead of a bridge isn't a Christian.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, because he spoke a lot apparently in Mexico. I mean, it's such a tragedy. How many thousands of people have died, especially people from Central America trying to come up, you know, and the Mexicans, and then they drowned in the river. They cross the river, they're in the desert, there's no water, they dry, they die. I mean, it's horrible. Yeah. So, yeah. So the Pope is speaking out on some good social issues. Yeah. It's nice. It'll be interesting to see what people say. I mean, Marco Rubio is a Catholic, but he also wants strict, deport the people. But, hey, all of us are from immigrant families, except the few Native Americans.
Rubio particularly.
Yeah. And he's the child of an immigrant. I guess Cruz was born in Canada. And, Scalia was the child of an immigrant. Yeah. So, I don't know. It'd be nice to have Nagarjuna talk to the Republicans, Sit them down, give them some good advice.
Nagarjuna's letter to the Republicans.
Yeah. We should write it. Yeah.
Well, so many of these, as you go farther down in the verses, to think that to have a world leader who thought like this would be an entirely different world.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
When I studied politics, I thought it would be nice, because there are political coaches, right, who give advice to the politicians, somebody who has this background of, like Nagarjuna's, when I received it from Geshe Samparan, he spoke about that it would be very nice to have coaches like that.
Yeah. They probably get fired very quickly.
If they're skillful,
Yeah. But it's quite interesting, isn't it, the mentality, because it seems like people in this time, they really admired people who were gentle and patient and generous and kind. And now we don't admire those people. We say them as soft and weak.
They're weak.
Yeah, they're weak. We admire people who punch you in the nose. I mean, it's really rather base, isn't it? People who, have aggressive power. That's the ones that are somehow in our world seen as good, which...
The country over Canada, not because I'm coming from Canada, but Justin Trudeau, I've been reading him. Have you read about what he's saying?
No.
You should. It's like the Dalai Lama talking.
Really?
Yes.
Ah.
Really. I'm wow.
Wow, good for the Canadians. I wish we could pick the Abbey up and move it 100 miles north and put it down? that.
So do I. When I hear about trauma and all of that, it's scary what is going on right now.
Yeah.
And over there, it's so different. You remove the. I don't like to share it because I don't. When I read, I don't pay attention to all the details. I don't want to see things that are not true. But just the Air Force, we had planes, Canadian planes, in the, with ISIS and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
He took that out. And he
Mm.
says, and he was asked why you did that. And I loved his answer. He said, us Canadians, we are good on the field to help people, to guide them and rebuild whatever. That was so wise.
Yeah.
Remove anything that could kill, and I don't know if everything, but and now he's helping the people with the food, infrastructure, and all of that. He teach the people to take care of themselves too.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Yeah.
to read, really to read.
Maybe some of it'll rub off south of the border here.
I know. It's
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so you will be a leader of the world, a kind, compassionate, powerful leader that will lead people in the direction of virtue. Yeah. Then 185, through seeing to the reconciliation of friends who have had a falling out, you will be a holy person with secret organ retracted into the abdomen. So they say that the Buddha's sex organ retracts inside like that of a horse. So it's a result of reconciling those who aren't in harmony. Interesting. Okay, 186. By giving pleasant and excellent dwellings adorned with carpets, your skin will have a gentle hue like refined, untarnished gold. Okay, so continually offering dwelling places to the Sangha that has carpets and cushions and bedding and everything, it will result in, when you're a Buddha, your skin having hue like refined gold. Because they said the Buddha's skin was like it had a golden sheen to it. And you can see some Indians, their skin is that color. You can see a golden sheen. But when we visualize the Buddha, we visualize him as completely golden in color. Okay, so it makes our skin will be like refined gold, and also the sign 15, our skin will be soft and fine. Okay, and then 187, through giving unexcelled authority and properly following your guru, your resplendent body hairs will grow one by one, and your face will be adorned with the forehead curl. Okay, so by repeatedly empowering those who ask for help, when we're have the power and authority to do so, by correctly following our spiritual mentors in our study and contemplation and meditation, then that results in the sign that each hair on the body grows separately from its own pore. So you don't, I guess, have two hairs growing out of one pore, they're singular. And then also the forehead curl. So the forehead curl is actually it's a very special sign. It usually takes more merit to get the forehead curl. It's a curl of hair here, and apparently it's usually curled up, but apparently you can take it and pull it out to the end of the universe. It's quite long. And then, when you let go, it comes back into a very small curl. Yeah. They say some of the Mahayana sutras at the beginning, the Buddha, He extends his curl out into the universe.
I knew somebody who had that curl and who was really an excellent follower of his teacher.
Was what?
An
Was it?
excellent follower of his teacher.
Follower
Follower.
of his teacher, yeah. Okay. Yeah, okay, so the curl is sign number 17. I haven't been saying all the numbers, so if you need me to go through and state them again, I can do that. Then 188, by listening properly, speaking in a pleasing manner, and acting in accord with the well-spoken, your shoulders will be well-rounded and you will have a leonine, am I saying it right? Leonine upper body. Okay, so due to not speaking harsh words or insulting, ridiculing, making fun of people, trying to really speak in a pleasant way, that's coming from a good space in our own heart. And by, when people ask us questions, to respond in accord with their disposition, when they're asking us Dharma questions, to, respond in accord with what they're capable of understanding, then this results in two signs. 18 is our shoulders are well-rounded, yeah, and so I guess not like bony, but yeah. And then 19, the chest or the upper part of the body will be broad and powerful like that of a lion. So interesting, by listening properly and speaking in a pleasant manner and acting in accord with the well-spoken. So this is somebody who is, gentle, well-mannered, polite, but not artificial about it. Yeah. Then they have this very powerful looking body. Yeah, not wimp body, powerful looking body. Yeah, interesting. Okay, and here by listening properly, yeah, we have a lot of teachings on how to speak. We don't have a lot of teachings on how to listen. Actually, it's a big skill. It's a skill we need to learn, how to listen. Yeah, I mean, they always teach how to speak, but in order to speak, like here, describing how the Buddha teaches, speaking in a way that, that's in accord with somebody's disposition and capacity and so on. In order to be able to speak like that, you have to be able to listen well. Or you have to have clairvoyant powers. So they say this is one of the uses of a Buddha's, of the divine eye. But also, if you learn how to listen well, then you can get an idea, too, of what's going to be a suitable answer for somebody. And this is really, really important, And this is also why it's important we know what the antidotes are to different things. Because if we get confused, and let's say a guest comes here and asks us a question, we could give them the wrong antidote, okay? So, for example, if somebody comes and tells us, like I'm falling asleep in my meditation, what do I do? And we say, meditate on death. Is that the correct antidote? No, why not? It makes his mind go even more down, more lethargic, more discouraged, okay? So instead you have to talk to them about something that will make them feel happy and glad and uplift the mind. Okay? So with all these things, we have to know what the antidotes are, and then we have to be able to suss somebody out. Yeah? And also, some people, let's say, there's a mantra commitment. Some people, you know, come to you and say, I'm totally freaking out about counting these numbers, it's driving me crazy, you know. What Lama Yeshe used to do then is he made the commitment either 3 months of Vajrasattva or 100,000. Yeah? So for the people who were freaking out just about counting, just do 3 months. You know, but say the mantra continuously, and he had people, you know, we were doing 2-hour sessions the whole retreat. You're looking like, gee, I wish I had known that.
The perfectionist says, I'm going to do it again in 3 months.
Yeah. So, yeah, so to be able to say, you know, some people, you know, which people you need to say, no, you got to complete the 111,000, you know, focus yourself, do it, you know, and then which people to say, oh, the counting doesn't matter, that's not so important, just, you know, be relaxed about it. And, you know, so different people need different things, so we have to be able to suss it out and see how to respond, you know. And similarly too, when people come and, you know, they're upset about one thing or another, and, you know, which people do you look at and you say, what's going on in your mind? And which people do you look at and say, oh, that must be so painful and disturbing to you? Yeah? So to know how to deal with different people when they have problems, because it's not one size fits all. Okay. Okay, we'll do one more verse. Through serving and healing the sick, this is 189, through serving and healing the sick, you will have a broad back, you will be imperturbable, and all tastes will be supreme. Okay, so you're providing medicine, you're providing bedside care to people who are sick, to people who are injured. And so it results, you know, you have a broad back. I mean, you're bearing the weight of their suffering. Okay, you will be imperturbable. And then all tastes will be supreme. I guess because you get used to the food they feed you in the hospital. But Genshin Rinpoche is saying that when we take care of people who are sick, then we should do it with respect and consideration and not just like, oh, you're sick, what a pain in the neck, I have to come take care of you. But, you know, we should do it respectfully and hand them something, you know, with both hands. Similarly, you know, if we are giving food to somebody who's poor, we should wash it first, then give it to them. Make sure we're giving clean food, offer it with both hands, look them in the eye, which is very different than just walking by and, you know, avoiding the person and putting something in a bowl and going on. Okay? And so as a result of that, you'll have broad shoulders and a broad chest, and you'll always experience excellent tastes, no matter what they serve at Sravasti Abbey. So there's stories, you know, in the suttas about the Buddha. And like once there was a famine, and so they only had, somebody came and donated hay, horse fodder for them. And who was it, Ananda or somebody tasted it and it was like, and then gave it to they didn't want to give it to the Buddha, but you know, the Buddha took it and it was like heavenly taste. So, yeah. You know, when you have a lot of merit, then things taste good.
It's also
What?
isn't it also like, you know, when you practice equanimity, you're serving everybody, you're respectful to everybody, and so the food is equal to your mind.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, any questions? Anything?
I'm kind of embarrassed to ask this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. So who sees this body? I mean, ordinary beings don't see these marks. And if I wanted to really get inspired, then it's like the way someone moves through space, you know, the way a person's mind gets refined. And so, so what is this about?
Yeah. Yeah, like are you going to start checking people's heels to see if they're broad and look at their fingers to see if they're webbed?
And when you're fully awakened Buddha, you don't have, they're not looking at each other with these signs and marks. And
Yeah.
So for me, I'm having trouble with this being inspiring.
Yeah, because you're saying, like, who has this kind of body, and
An
what?
ordinary mind can't see it.
Huh?
An ordinary mind like mine, I can't see it.
Yeah, we can't. Well, they say that on the Buddhist body, the emanation body, you could. Yeah, apparently the Buddha, when he was alive, people could see these signs on his body. Yeah.
So he's doing it for our sake.
Yeah. Well, it's to inspire us. You know, if we want to have the Buddha's body, it's not to check out and see who's a Buddha and who's not. It's to think of a Buddha's body being very magnificent and very unlike our bodies. And so to be inspired to create the causes that would lead to that. And if you look, all these causes are very wonderful things to do, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, I find the causes more inspiring than the physical signs. Yeah, yeah, because he's getting very specific here on what kind of causes on the method side that you want to do.
So at what point are we rid of this?
This body,
This.
well, they say that first Bhumi Bodhisattvas on Path of Seeing, some of them have mental bodies, but definitely by the eighth Bhumi, the eighth ground, you have a mental body. Okay? So what a mental body looks like, I don't know. Yeah, that is for sure not like ours. Yeah, and I mean, it's not going to have the same elements. It's not going to be solid like ours. Yeah.
I have a question from last week.
Uh-huh.
Last week you talked a little bit about the basis, path, and result
Uh-huh.
in Sutra and Tantra. And in Tantra you talked about the path, but is the basis and the result the same as the Sutra?
Okay.
It doesn't seem like the two truths could change.
Yeah, the two truths wouldn't change. The resultant Buddha bodies wouldn't change.
And so it's just the path.
Yeah, it's basically the path.
The basis would be different.
Huh?
The basis would be different.
How would the basis be different?
Well, I'm thinking of Yamataka practice. The basis is described as ordinary death and immediate state and rebirth. That's the basis that's transformed.
Oh, I see. Yeah, but that's in the system where you're making, you're making analogies. The death, bardo, and rebirth, and the three kayas. But then, because usually the basis is the two truths. Yeah. So you would have to have two bases, wouldn't you? If you're going to have a path. If you're going to have two things in the path, one for method and one for wisdom, and, the Dharmakaya and the Rupakaya, then wouldn't you have to have two things as a basis?
Well, there's three. I think that's how there's three.
Yeah. Yeah. But like, how would you put them? Which ones would correspond with the Rupakaya and which ones would with the Dharmakaya? Probably death would with the Dharmakaya. Yeah. Rebirth with the Rupakaya. Yeah. But then Sambhogakaya. Yeah, it's the bardo that would go there. Yeah,
One way of saying it would be death, bardo, and rebirth,
yeah,
but it's still grounded in the two truths. I mean, I can get away from the two truths.
what we were saying is that if it's ordinary death, bardo, and rebirth, yeah, because you would have to do it in terms of how they were transformed. So ordinary death would correlate with the clear light and the truth body, and bardo and rebirth would correlate with the two form bodies, and with illusory body as your path. Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay.
Someone asked if arahants have some of these physical bodies.
Oh, they say that, yeah, that some Chakravarta kings have these signs, some bodhisattvas do. I think some arhats probably can, but they aren't anything like the Buddhist signs.
Yeah, last week you said a similitude.
Yeah, a similitude. Right. It's a good word, isn't it? Yeah.
Thought it was interesting when I read this about the coloring of the skin.
Mm-hmm.
How when I guess she saw close to when he was dying, that his skin was so luminous and almost copper colored.
Yeah.
It was so interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was like seeing something of gold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it seemed very much like that.
I have a narrow question too, that comes a little bit in that the Tibetans don't look, for example, at His Holiness directly in the face, and some see him as a Buddha. What does this correlation, do you know something about that?
Say that
You know,
again?
when His Holiness is teaching and he is going maybe on the stage, and then there are Tibetans and they don't look directly to His Holiness.
Oh,
They bow
that,
down
yeah,
as
yeah.
far as
They
can.
don't make eye contact with His Holiness. This
This
is Tibetan manners. I mean, in old Tibet, nobody even looked at His Holiness because he had this huge high seat. Everybody would come in with eyes lowered. Now, you know, it's quite different. People do look at His Holiness and make eye contact. Many people, when His Holiness is coming in, usually, yes, out of respect, you have your head down and you don't look. Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, I just want to, out of respect, okay. That's
Yeah,
the manner.
yeah, it's out of respect. Yeah, like in the posada, you know, when the preceptor's speaking to you, out of respect, then you have your eyes lowered. You know, you're not. Yeah. Why are you giving me advice? I didn't ask for it.